Hello everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I have a deck centered around Serperior from Fates Collide. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It helps us out a ton and lets us do more for you guys. And also, just a reminder, I've been forgetting to say this, but if you have any suggestions or recommendations for decks, please leave them in the comments section below, and I would love to see what you guys recommended, and I will get to them as soon as possible. But anyway, like I said, this deck is centered around Serperior, 140 HP grass-type Pokemon with two pretty cool attacks. One of them is Coil, hits for 40 damage. It's not the best, but its effect during your next turn, this Pokemon's attacks do 60 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Basically, do 40 damage the first time, and then every subsequent time you are hitting for 100 damage for a single energy, which is absolutely amazing. Slap a muscle band on there, and you have 120 just consecutively. And if you just need a little more damage, you can go for a slashing strike. 80 base, plus that 60 from Coil the previous turn, plus a muscle band, plus maybe a Giovanni scheme, and for a single energy, you are hitting for a whopping 180 damage. That is absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, Serperior is just very, very strong. Wait, did I do that right? So you have 80 plus from Slashing Strike, plus 40, that's 140, plus 20 from the Muscle Band, that is 160, and yep, Giovanni Scheme makes it a solid 180 damage. That is a magic number, and that is all for one energy. So Serperior is very strong, and I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say this is a super competitive deck. I mean, we will definitely see. It has potential, but I'm just not sure it is consistent and strong enough to compete with like the likes of Night March and stuff like that. But anyway, let's get into the Pokemon. We are running two Shaman. We're running kind of a lower line just because we want to run more of the other Pokemon in this deck. And also you have ways of reusing Shaman, which I will get to in a little bit. But yeah, basically Shaman, setup, draw cards. That's same as always. And then I am running a kind of peculiar 4-4-4 line. You're running Snivy, Servine, and Serperior. I'm actually running 0 rare candy in this deck. That is just a that is just my opinion. That is just something that I've decided to go with. If you run this deck, I would suggest you make the decision for yourself whether or not to run rare candies. I have chosen not to, but again, I'm not saying that this is the best list. This is just a list that I have used and I have had fun with. But the reasoning behind not skipping the middle stage at all is because Servine has this little nifty ability, Serpentine Strangle. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. That's great. I mean, that just completely buys us a turn, assuming our Pokemon doesn't have like our opponent's Pokemon, and our opponent doesn't have like stand-in or a switch or escape rope or something of that nature. So basically, this kind of helps with decks that are just super aggro. You can paralyze them, make them wait a turn, and be able to get to a Serperior and start hitting for damage. And then of course, we are running 4 Serperior. It is the main attacker and is what you want to be using over and over. We are running a 2-2 line of Spinarak and Ariados just because Serperior with a Muscle Band can hit for 160 damage at the absolute most. That really just isn't enough, so we need a little extra damage, and that will come from Ariados' Poisonous Nest. Once during your turn, you may use this ability. Both active Pokemon are now poisoned except for grass types, so basically just gets a little more extra damage onto your opponent to help with those magic numbers and the math. And yeah, basically that. And something kind of cool, if you attack for 160 damage with Serperior and you'll poison your opponent's active Pokemon and they are an EX and they're at 180 HP, they will actually get knocked out coming back into your turn, so you will get to knockouts or hit something that is completely fresh. So I thought that was kind of cool. On to the items. We are running 2 Level Ball just to, I mean, get Snivy, get Servine, get Spinarak and Ariados. I mean, that's they're great things to run in this deck in general. We're running 2 Revitalizer to get the Pokemon out of our discard pile, 1 Super Ride for Pokemon and Energy, 3 Super Scoop Ups. Now I normally don't run this in this kind of deck, but Super Scoop Up in conjunction with Forest of Giant Plants is great for getting a Servine down. Say you don't get a heads on the Paralyzed flip, you can go for a Super Scoop Up and just try it again. I'm not running an absolute max because I wanted to run a few more of another card. Again, if you run this deck, I suggest you try it for yourself. I have not really encountered a situation where I wanted a 4th Super Scoop Up. I mean, sure, it's been nice, but I like the other tech cards that I've been able to run in lieu of another Super Scoop Up. 1 switch, just, I mean, just as a last-ditch effort, like if you start with a Spinnerack or something like that, use a switch, get out of there. 4 Trainer's Mail to help with the consistency of this deck, 4 Ultra Ball to get everything out, 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. And the supporter line is a little bit weird. Oh, I mean, it's not necessarily that weird. We're running 1 AZ to kind of have the same effect, to have a completely same effect as a Super Scoop Up. Bring up a Shaman, play it back down, or bring up a Snivy line and play it all back down. I mean, AZ is just great for that, getting to reuse abilities that you get when you play the Pokemon down. 1 Giovanni Scheme to help with the math a little bit, sometimes hit for that magic 180 or a little bit more if you're in a situation where you need just a little bit more damage. And in a pinch, it can also act as a draw support card, but I mean, you don't really want to use it as that. 1 Lysander just because Lysander is great. And then 3/3 of N and Sycamore. I mean, that's just the line I'm using. Figure out a line that works best for you. And then I'm only running 3 Forest of Giant Plants just because this effect doesn't really... It's not really a lasting effect that you want. You really just need it in one turn, so you're like, okay, play it down, just play a bunch of Grass-type Pokemon, evolve them immediately. Like, it's not an effect that benefits your Grass Pokemon apart from the turn that they are played down and evolved. So I'm only running 3 of these. I've been tinkering with 4, but I really just kind of prefer 3. That way I can run like another Muscle Band or something like that. Again, this is my opinion. Feel free to try it for yourself. Additionally, with the Muscle Bands, only running 2, just, I mean, that's what I have found is the most useful for me anyway. You might want to run a couple more, and that is completely fine. And then 7 Grass Energy. I'm running 7 just because you don't want to have to dig through your deck to get them. I mean, Serperior does only attack for 1 energy, so that means you're allowed to use more types of cards instead of some energy. But I have found that if I run a lower line of, well, a lower number of energy, I spend too much time digging for 1, and that really can come back to bite me in the butt. So that's why I'm running with 7. Again, I'm not saying that this is a perfect deck, or this is not a perfect deck list for this type of deck, but this is the list that I have come up with after playing for a little bit. I encourage you to try it for yourself and make the changes that whatever you see fit, and whatever you think is necessary. So anyway, I'm done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against a random crits with a water deck, and I mean, this deck doesn't necessarily mind going second just because, I mean, with Forest of Giant Plants, you are able to evolve immediately, but honestly, I still prefer going first just because it gives you 2 chances to get everything that you want out. And okay, so we do start with a Snivy. We snart with a Snivy. No, that's not what happens. So, I mean, it's a pretty solid start. If I can get a Forest of Giant Plants, that would be great. And it is a Greninja deck. This could be a little bit of a problem. However, we do have the type advantage, so something that's kind of cool, I can actually one-shot a Froakie with a muscle-banded Snivy or a Giovanni Scheme Snivy. I mean, that's actually really kind of cool. But I mean, that just goes to the type advantage thing. I mean, you have the Gen 5 Grass starter versus the Gen 6 Water starter, and I mean, Greninja is by far a much, Greninja is a much better deck than Serperior, at least in my opinion. Serperior hasn't had the chance to prove itself in like the national spotlight or anything like that, so I'm going to save judgment for that for a little while. And okay, the fact my opponent actually goes for a Birch. If he gets a Tails, that would be great, except he gets Heads. So I mean, my opponent takes the risk, gets rewarded, so there's nothing we can do about that, and it looks like my opponent's just going to attach and probably, well, I mean, he has to pass. There's nothing else we can do. And okay, so we get something that we can actually really work with. What I am going to go ahead and do is Ultra Ball, get rid of the Giovanni Scheme and the Trainer's Mail. I think I'm immediately just going to go for a Servine. That way I can get a turn 1 Serperior and start just, you know, hitting my opponent for a ton of damage. Yes, please, let's go for Heads. Doesn't really matter. I can play the Serperior right down, go ahead and go for a Shaman, hopefully draw an energy, and this is where I'm glad I run a little bit higher of an energy count, and oh, that is great. My opponent just concedes. Oh, we had such a perfect setup, because then I attach a Muscle Band, attach a Water Energy, get a Ariados out, and then Sycamore away. Oh, that was such a perfect start. I'm kind of upset that we weren't able to finish that out, but I mean, this This deck is very, very fast and has the opportunity to hit very hard turn 1, but that match won't count. And let's just go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Okay, really quickly, this was a result of the wheel from the match that I was just in, and 375 coins? I mean, that seems like it, that doesn't seem like it should be a real thing. I mean, the highest I've ever gotten before this was 100, but 375 seems a little weird, so leave a comment in the comment section below if something like this has happened to you, but either way, we are going with it, and I'm going to try to find another match right now. Alrighty, we have found one against Expensive Heat with a water and fighting deck, so it kind of looks like this would be a maybe a Garchomp Octillery deck. Either way, we have the type advantage, and we do get to go first. That is absolutely great for us. Let's see what we start with. We start with a Snivy and a... Wow, I run 7 grass energy in my entire deck, and I draw 3 to start off with. That's actually kind of funny, not gonna lie. But, okay, we do my opponent does start with the Landorus. Let's go ahead and go for... that's not good. Oh, man. What I can do is go ahead and play this onto the Snivy. I guess just Lysander in my opponent's Remoraid, and then just kind of end my turn right there. If my opponent has like a strong energy and a muscle band, then I just lose. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to buy a turn with this Snivy. But I can actually knock out the Remoraid next turn if I can get something else going. But this was not a very good first turn, and I'm really glad I went first. Just because, I mean, otherwise I would be kind of up a creek without a paddle at this point. One thing I will be able to do is go for a... Okay, so this is a Zygarde deck, and actually Serperior has the type advantage, so that's actually really cool. And then a Professor's Letter. I guess my opponent is just gonna... He might have a switching card in his hand, or he's just gonna Professor's Letter, put something onto the Landorus and pass. But either way, I kind of... Okay, so he just starts powering up the Zygarde. Okay, that is just fine. What I'm going to do is... I have to play down my hand so that Giovanni's can actually do something. But I get a level ball, so that works. I can go ahead and grab another Snivy, go ahead and play that down. I can play the Super Scoop Up, I mean, just because it wouldn't do anything, but then I can play the energy onto that, go for the Giovanni Scheme, draw it until you have 5 cards in your hand, and I can actually just go ahead and play the Forest of Giant Plants, go for the... I think I'm going to go ahead and go for the Evolution. Maybe if I can paralyze it, then I think I'm just going to... Should I go for the knockout this turn? I think I will attach the Muscle Band to the Snivy on the bench, and I think just go for a Vine Whip for the turn, and that will be it for the time being. I mean, I could have taken a knockout right there, but then my opponent would just be able to hit me for, I mean, a lot of... Actually, if he gets a strong energy, he'll be able to knock me out. So this is a very slow start. If I can get a Shaman or something, or a Sycamore, then I will be in a much, much better position. But for the time being, I'm having to play it a little bit slower just because I drew 3 of my 7 energy that are in the entire deck in the very beginning. So that was a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, this is where Servine comes in handy. It's able to just, you know, it's able to paralyze things, and it looks like my opponent's going for an Octillery. That is just fine. If I can get a Serperior up, I will actually be in a phenomenal position, because Serperior does not get one-shot by Zygarde, and I can one-shot it back with a Muscle-Banded Slashing Strike or a Coil-Boosted, well, Coil. And okay, my opponent does just go immediately for the Focus Sash. That is just fine. And okay, so there's also Garchomp in this deck. That's kind of weird that he's running Landorus and Garchomp, but I mean, to each their own. I'm not going to knock it, and okay, my opponent's getting in a... man, that means that Snivy will go down. That's unfortunate. Man, that stinks. But, oops. But, okay, so we really have to draw something good this turn. Otherwise, we just kind of lose, and that's not good. I run enough supporters in this deck to where you'd think I would draw one, but I just draw another Snivy, so I'm going to go ahead and play that down, play the energy onto it, and then I have to go for a Giovanni Scheme. I'm using Giovanni Scheme as a draw supporter. That is kind of ridiculous. Just because I haven't drawn anything at all. I'm going to immediately go for the Trainer's Mail. And nothing but grass types. Yay! Actually, something kind of cool I can do is go ahead and Super Scoop up, bring up the Servine, promote that Snivy, play this guy down, go ahead and play the Servine, see if I can get the Paralysis, which I do. So that is pretty awesome. Play the Serperior right there, and then hit for a Coil for super effective damage for 80 damage, and now we are in a great position because I think I will actually be able to knock out this Zygarde next turn unless my opponent has a... I don't know what he would have. I mean, he'd have to have like another switching card and an escape rope or something like that. And I still have the Super Scoop Up in my hand, so it looks like my opponent's going for a Karina, probably for a switch. That would actually be for a Gibble and then a switch. I would guess like that'd be what he would kind of have to go for in this situation. Unless he doesn't have it, that'd be really cool if he doesn't. Okay, so he is, looks like he is just going to try to Rare Candy into a Garchomp this turn unless he doesn't have it in his hand. And okay, so he does have the Garchomp, and that is just fine. It looks like my opponent didn't have another switching card or something like that. I mean, unless he drew it off the Abyssal Hand, which I consider just to be lucky. And he's powering up the Garchomp in the back. That is just fine. And oh man, we are actually in a great position. I even get another Servine, so let's just go ahead and play... Do I want to play it down? I might want to wait until I need to buy a turn. Either way, I'm going to play the energy onto the Snivy and then go for another Coil just because. And wow, we one-shotted a Zygarde with Serperior. That is great. And okay, so we're actually cooking at this point. If my opponent does get some good damage off on me, I can go for a Super Scoop Up just to bring the Serperior back and then immediately just go play it back all the way back down again. And then I can even knock out the Garchomp with a Slashing Strike. Okay, looks like my opponent doesn't even want to deal with that. So that's great. I guess he's just going to try to hit me with... Okay, he's going to hit me with a... Well, what is that? Shout of Power. I haven't used Landorus in a while, so looks like my opponent's going to try to get another Garchomp up in the back. That is completely fine with me, and I'm actually really impressed by Serperior's ability to just kind of, you know, stall. Like, I was in a pretty bad position, but Servine came through with its Serpentine Strangle, and I was able to be in a very, very good position. So I'm impressed by Serperior so far. Within the matches that I've used it, granted I have had some type advantages here and there, I still think it is very good and very useful. So my opponent does evolve into a Gabite, and he'll be able to hit us for a good amount of damage this turn. So that's something I kind of have to watch out for. Will Garchomp be able to... Yeah, he'll be able to knock me out next turn if he gets that. And there's the Shaman. Alright, let's go ahead and Trainer's Mail, see what I can get. I get a Revitalizer, that is great. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I'm going to go ahead and play the Forest of Giant Plants. And then I just have one Snivy, that is completely fine. Let's go ahead and grab that, put it onto my bench, and then play down one Servine. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it would be nice if I was able to get a Heads, which, I mean, went ahead and got it. But I'm going to play down my hand completely. You know what? Yeah, let's just see if we can get it again. Nope, we don't. Not a big deal. And then play down a Shaman, get some more cards, just be in an even better position. Get another... Wow, this is awesome. What I can actually do is play down another Snivy and then go for, I think, yeah, go for a Lysander to knock out the Garchomp this turn. And, whew, this is really, really awesome, actually. So, knock out the Garchomp with a Coil. We'll be able to hit for even more damage next turn. And, oh man, Serperior is just coming through. I even get a Muscle Band. I have a guaranteed Serperior next turn because I have an Ultra Ball. I have a Super Scoop Up. I have all of those. So this is just great. Serperior is working beautifully. And we're in an incredible position. I mean, my opponent can knock one out, but I have another one waiting in the wings. I have Super Scoop Up potential on my Shaman. I mean, all of that. Like, the only thing that would be, oh, okay, I guess that's a little unfortunate, but it's not the biggest deal in the world, because I should have a Sycamore somewhere. Speak of the devil. And oh my goodness, wow, that is great. And my opponent even gives me some extra HP with the training center, so I'm not sure that I would even want to get rid of it. I can, in next turn, I'll just be able to play down a Serperior, slap a Muscle Band onto that one, and then just go ahead and Sycamore, get a full hand, and just be in... Whew, this is I'm in a very, very, very good position right now. I think I can take Okos on almost anything that I want. I mean, there's the Focus Sash, but if I can somehow get like an Ariados, that will completely mitigate the Focus Sash, and this is just peachy. In the words of Hades from Hercules. I hope that doesn't get me copyright infringement or something like that. But this is great, great, great position. Wow, that was actually really, really cool. 2 Forest of Giant Plants are in the discard pile, so that's something I might have to watch out for. But if I can get an Ariados down, then I don't think that will matter at all. And it looks like my opponent wasn't... Okay, so he did get an energy. Okay, so he will be able to not knock me out. Okay. That's weird. But what I might do this turn is just knock out the Landorus with a Slashing Strike, because my Serperior only has 50 HP left, so it will go down next turn. But what I am going to do is just play a Muscle Band there, play a Serperior down there, and then just Sycamore away the rest of my hand, see if I can get something else going. That is great. I get a Spinnerack, I get another Serperior, and I even get another Servine that I'm just going to go ahead and play down. I don't... you know what? Let's see if we can get it. Nope, we don't get it. Not a big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and play that onto another Serperior, get another one ready, and then just Slashing Strike, be 2 prizes away from taking this game, and I don't think... There's almost nothing my opponent can do at this point to be able to win, I think. I mean, he could end me down to 2, but I mean, I just have such a dominant setup right now. I mean... All I have to do is just play another energy down onto this Servine. I mean, I can even Revitalize her once he knocks out this Serperior to get it back into my hand and to play it onto this Servine. So, I mean, I'm just in such a great position right now. I mean, Serperior just... With Forest of Giant Plants, you're able to swarm in 1 energy. That's all. Okay, so my opponent does have another N. That is just fine. I mean, I should have some stuff. Okay, that's great. There's even an Ariados there. That is really awesome. And I'll even be able to knock out this Garchomp with a muscle-banded coil. So we're just rolling here. There's no 2 ways about it. We are completely rolling. I'll have an Ariados up that'll knock out the Garchomp next turn with the poison. And whew, this deck is just working so beautifully right now. I mean, I have actually never had a deck work as well as, correction. I have never had this deck work as well as it has right here. I mean, this is just beautiful. And then I can even go ahead and Forest of Giant Plants, and then just to rub it in my opponent's face, go for a VS Seeker, get a Sycamore, and then, I mean, we basically... There's almost no way that I think we can't win. I can even Revitalize her, grab a Snivy and a... How many are left in my deck? I'm going to grab a Snivy and a Serperior. Go ahead and put this guy down. Play this right here. Going to go ahead and Ultra Ball. Get rid of... actually, first Super Rod. Get these back into my deck. And then I can go ahead and Ultra Ball. Get rid of the Ariados and the Spinnerack to grab another, not a Serperior, a Servine, to have just something else powered up in the background, and then just go ahead and put that there. You know what? Might as well. See if we can get it. Nope, we don't get it. Not a big deal. Go for a Poisonous Nest, and then go for a Coil to knock out this Garchomp between turns. And I don't... I even have a switch if my opponent, drags out a Shaman or something like that, so I'm in such a good position. I don't know if there's a way that my opponent can necessarily win. I mean, I even can Ultra Ball for another Serperior next turn. This is just great. And then I'll be able to Oko the Garchomp next turn with a Slashing Strike. So my opponent will be able to knock out my Serperior, but I will immediately just be able to go into this one and Slashing Strike for the victory, and my opponent won't even let us do it because he just forfeits. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I mean, that is the deck. This was a really, I underestimated Serperior, I'll be honest. Like, I did not think that this would be that good of a deck, but Serperior really just proved me wrong by taking on two that are very viable in the metagame right now. Granted, we did have the type advantage in both, but still, the fact that Serperior was able to hit for as much damage as it did really just speaks to how much I underestimated it and to how much potential it actually has. But thank you for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.